This is Cosmic News. Welcome along, my friends, to another edition of Cosmic News. Coming up in this week's broadcast, another whistleblower has come forward claiming he spent 17 years on planet Mars on a secret military base protecting space colonies. Plus, a warning goes out that Planet X Nibiru is closing in on Earth, and startling explanation of global events as Nibiru is set to fly by Earth with the Anunnaki activating ancient Stargates. Okay, into this week's news. This first report originates from beforeitsnews.com and Exo News. Title: Whistleblower claims he spent 17 years on Mars at a secret military base protecting civilian space colonies, secret space station on Mars. A new whistleblower has come forward to claim that he spent 17 years on Mars serving at a secret military base whose main mission was to protect 5 civilian space colonies, secret space station on Mars. Captain K said that the Mars Defense Force recruits personnel from different military services. He claims that he was recruited from a covert branch of the US Marine Corps called Special Section. Captain K is currently seeking documents to verify his incredible experiences, and for now offers his testimony as evidence of a breakaway human civilization based on Mars. His testimony is consistent with the claims of other whistleblowers who have previously come forward to reveal secret events on Mars. Captain K's testimony reveals that the main human colony on Mars is called Ares Prime, which is located inside a crater. Ares Prime serves as the headquarters for the Mars Colony Corporation. According to Captain K, the air is breathable on the surface of Mars and the temperature could be warm at times. He claims that there are 2 indigenous species on Mars, both of which are highly intelligent. One of these was a reptilian species that were very aggressive in defending its territory. The other was an insectoid species that was equally capable of protecting its territory. He said that indigenous Martians are not particularly interested in expanding their territory, only maintaining it. Captain K said that as long as the Mars Defense Force and Mars Colony Corporation did not encroach on the territory of the indigenous Martians, there would be stable relations. After serving 17 years of a 20-year tour of duty, events changed dramatically when virtually all combat personnel from the Mars Defense Force were asked to retrieve an extraterrestrial artifact from a cave sacred to the indigenous reptilians. Captain K described how over 1,000 men and women were killed in a subsequent battle, and only 28 of his colleagues, including himself, survived. This following report originates from bibliotechappliedis.net, and this report is as important today as it was when it was written a few years ago. I believe the timelines for Nibiru's return of 2003 and 2012 were deliberately misleading timelines and disinformation put out by the controlling elite. But be warned, we are approaching the real timeline for this coming event. Titled, Is There a Disturbing Hidden Agenda in Global Events? By Len Caston from Atlantis Rising, number 41. An Australian researcher offers the startling explanation for world events. Imagine this scenario. The US government obtains intelligence that hidden somewhere in central Iraq is an actual Stargate placed there by the Anunnaki gods of ancient Sumeria. This is a device that employs time travel technology and permits individuals and equipment to pass into another dimension outside of the space-time continuum. Once there, it is possible to travel across the galaxy or into another galaxy instantaneously and then pop back into space-time on another planet. Consider further that the government also learned that Nibiru, the 12th planet, is due to make its return passage through our solar system on its 3,600-year orbit. In this scenario, when Nibiru is closest to Earth, the Anunnaki, the ancient huge humanoid gods of Sumeria who built the Stargate, would, it seems likely, take the opportunity to travel to Earth through that same Stargate and will set up their encampment in Iraq by default. This will have the effect of propping up the current regime. US government leaders know that such an eventuality must be prevented at all costs, so they decide that with the help of extraterrestrial allies they must invade Iraq and close the Stargate. The Russians, Germans and French, however, having been intimately involved in Iraq's archaeology, know what they're up to and prefer that the Stargate remains open, thus preventing American domination of the world. With time running out, President Bush invades Iraq. American scientists raid the museum and close the Stargate, thus frustrating the grandiose ambition of self-styled reincarnation of Nebuchadnezzar, Saddam Hussein, and making the world safe for the New World Order. Is this the sequel to the movie Stargate? Is it a new episode of the TV series? Is it a new Star Trek movie? No, it is none of these. According to Dr. Michael Salla, it is probably exactly what actually happened. Such a fantastic theory would not be expected from someone whose entire career has been spent in academia, pursuing rather conventional political and diplomatic studies. Dr. Salla, an Australian national, obtained his MA in philosophy from the University of Melbourne and then his doctorate in government from the University of Queensland in 1993. After spending 2 years as an associate at the Centre for Middle Eastern and Central Asia Studies in Australia, he joined the faculty of the Department of Political Science at Australian National University in Canberra as a lecturer. In 1996, he came to the US and gained an academic appointment at the School of International Service at American University in Washington, D.C., where he remained until 2001. He is currently researching methods of transformational peace as a researcher in residence in the Center for Global Peace at American University. The missing factor, Dr. Salas's Iraq Stargate theory, is expounded in a paper written for publication. Several other research papers by him exhibiting what seems to be first-rate scholarship and elaborating on his intriguing views about world events can also be found here. Salla is among those who think that the extraterrestrial presence should be a major factor in all political decisions and actions. Like the proverbial elephant in the room, the alien factor, he believes, is just too big to be ignored, and therefore it seems highly unlikely to him that it is being ignored. But what goes on in clandestine meetings is not public policy, so Dr. Salla brings the subject out into the daylight by reviving the previously obscure concepts of exopolitics, dusting it off and giving it new life and meaning. The exo prefix has become established as a reference to aliens, e.g. exobiology refers to the study of alien physiology and biochemistry. Dr. Salla formulates his exopolitical theory when in his work in international conflict resolutions he became convinced that there was a missing piece, some external agency was not accounted for. When he factors in the ET influence, it all came together. In a 10,000-word research paper titled The Need for Exopolitics, Implications of Extraterrestrial Conspiracy Theory for Policymakers and Global Peace, Dr. Salla says the exopolitics can be defined as the policy debate over the choices of governments and populations need to make in formulating and implementing legislative and policy responses to the presence of ETs in human affairs. He claims that exopolitics is actually already being practiced in secrecy by the major world governments. In this paper, though, Dr. Salla gives good examples of how public exopolitics should be conducted, as our governments should be doing. He reviews all the sources of evidence of the ET presence to date and then uses this reported information to try to comprehend the nature of alien intentions. He does this by identifying 4 possible perspectives and evaluating the strength of the evidence for each category. According to the intruder perspective, the aliens are here for their own purposes, and their abduction and hybrid program activities are intrusive and callous to humans concerned. Although they pose no direct military threat, this attitude would tend to justify defense concerns and the development of weapons with which to confront them. Taking the manipulative perspective, a case can be built that the aliens have been manipulating humans covertly since we first appeared here. There is evidence that this has been conducted through their human proxies via secret societies and support of a human-controlling elite class. From the helper perspective, it appears that the aliens are here to help us to grow in consciousness and solve our problems. Much evidence supports the view that the ETs play an important role in encouraging humanity to achieve peaceful resolutions of international conflict and in preventing nuclear proliferation and the use of other destructive weapons. And finally, there is the Watcher perspective. According to this view, the aliens are agents of a larger galactic organization and are here to observe a great experiment that may help other planetary societies if we resolve it correctly. These aliens are all powerful, and although non-interventionists are ready to step in if absolutely necessary. Of these 4 possibilities, he claims that the strongest evidence supports the intruder and helper perspective, and therefore government policy should actively address both of these. Dr. Sala makes 5 recommendations. First, we must create the field of exopolitics so that schools and colleges